Hello and welcome to Experts Corner. This is Maheen Jafri. Well, today we'll be taking a look at the provocation, the statements coming from the eastern side, and also the repercussions that it could lead our South Asian region towards. Whether it be Prime Minister Modi boasting about the INS Vikrant or the Army Chief Dwivedi, who confirms Operation Sindoor is still on and they are preparing for Operation Sindoor Part 2. On the other hand, we know that Donald Trump has said that he has talked to Prime Minister Modi and that they talked not to go to war with Pakistan. Pakistan's response is always very swift and calculated, but the problem and the question is that where would this all lead to? How would we look at the South Asian region? Can we afford another conflict? Because these are two nuclear-armed neighbors that we are talking about. Secondly, in the second segment, we'd be talking in detail about the plans for a peace summit between Donald Trump and Putin, which was supposed to happen in Budapest. That's been delayed. It has been put on hold, and be discovering the reasons for it. Also, the White House has confirmed that there is not going to be any such meeting in the near future. We've also come to know about the Donbass deal, which was pushed from the Russian side, of course, now, but we'll be looking at the summit from another perspective. What does this summit actually means, especially for the European countries? Is it the only peace chance for European countries? And what does the delay signify, especially for Ukraine and the European countries which are pushing for a peace deal but without any territorial concessions? Now, for further analysis, we've been joined by our expert, Farrukh K.Pitafi, and also we've been joined online by Lieutenant General Abdul Qayyum, former Chairman, Senate Standing Committee on Defense Production, PMLN. Thank you so much and welcome both of you.
Thank you.
Qayyum, sir, we'd be coming to you. First of all, the eastern side mentioning INS Vikrant, Operation Sindoor. How is it not mentioning the score of 6-0? How is it not mentioning that Pakistan is famous for fantastic tea? And where does this war rhetoric lead us? And where is it coming from? And can we afford a war in this region, provided both these states are nuclear armed?
Thank you very much. You see, no country can afford war. Wars solve no problem at all. You have seen history is replete with examples what the Americans have been doing. You have seen First World War, Second World War, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Afghan wars. So therefore, I think in this 21st century, we must understand that. And that is what we have been trying to convince India, telling them that we have to sit across the table and resolve our issues. But then they blamed us for terrorism in their country. On that, the government of Pakistan was quite clear. And they said that you can just call a commission, international, unbiased investigation. Even the United Nations Military Observer Group in India and Pakistan, they are here. They can be involved and find out as to what has happened. Because the actual story is that whenever there are elections in India, now that in the month of November, there are elections in Bihar, followed by Bengal and Tamil Nadu and so on. So therefore, the Indian government, especially the BJP government, which is RSS dominated and Hindutva concept, they would always bank on Pakistani bashing so that they can get votes. So therefore, unfortunately, when Pakistan explained to them that we're not involved in anything within your country, they didn't listen to us because they were having that wrong notion of Pakistan being a very weak state and India being not only a regional power but aspiring to be a global power and shining India, and it has a conventional army which is very big and they are very combat worthiness is very high and so on. But when they took that wrong initiative, then they were totally disappointed. And the entire South Asia, not only South Asia, but the entire world realized that this all was a sort of a bogus claim of India, that they are a very potent power. One, that their leadership failed to realize that through war, they will not be able to get anything. And secondly, when they went into a war and they crossed Pakistani international borders, then they got a beating so much that they are still licking their wounds. And then they said that this Operation Sindoor is not finished. Of course, we know it is not finished because then they dare not cross our border or the airspace. Then they worked on our strategic encirclement, and tried to activate their landing area in Afghanistan, and that is how then the other border was activated, and there was an upsurge of terrorism in Pakistan, and we lost many valuable lives. But when then the patience was over, then Pakistan reacted very strongly against the Eastern perpetrators, and then that taught them a lesson. Actually, the history is that India, right from the outset, never accepted Pakistan existence. And their main objectives now were number one, denuclearization of Pakistan, and secondly, making Pakistan accept the hegemonic design of India. But that is why then they had a pact with Karzai government in 2011. And then you know that then they made a narrative, and they said that, okay, we will have a great Pashtunistan and a great Balochistan. And for that, the instruments of subversion were on one hand TTP, and the other hand on the BLA. And they started off with this. And now they found that Pakistan has reacted very strongly. And it is good that Pakistan and Afghanistan have reached an agreement. And I hope and pray that the Afghanis honor that agreement. Pakistan is ready. Pakistan is a peaceful country. Pakistan believes in peaceful coexistence. And therefore, we never do warmongering. We want to live peacefully with our brothers.
Mr. Qayyum, there's another very pertinent question. When you were talking about Pakistan, we were talking about Pakistan's response. Pakistan's response is always very swift and not excessive exaggeration, which shows it is calculated, yet it is controlled. There was a comment from the Indian Army chief where they said that Pakistan is going to, God forbid, face erasure. And our ISPR said that, one, this is delusional, and second, they said that the erasure would be mutual. How smart is the Pakistan strategy? How do you see Pakistan combating such statements and provocations?
You see, this is well known world over that Pakistan armed forces are second to none in their professional efficiency and combat worthiness. Out of 145 countries of the world which have armies, the latest rating, which came international rating in 2025, Pakistan is 12th strongest army in the world. And therefore, and it's a nuclear army, and it has missiles. And our reach is, as the Field Marshal Asim Munir said the other day in Pakistan Military Academy while addressing the cadets, that our reach is long and lethal. And therefore, everybody knows. So, and I am sure now the Indians know it very well because they paid the price to know it. 7 down. We call it 6-0, but Americans who are always well aware through their satellite communication, and they can pinpoint everything that happens around the globe, they say time and again 7. So therefore, after that humiliation, I don't think so. India is ready to engage with Pakistan on the conventional war or in any other conflict. But they will do that pinprick, and they would try to appease their own voters and try to sort of generate that political activity within the country, because BJP is now on a declining slide. And if they lose this election and then the next few elections, in any case, now they have a sort of a coalition government. In Kashmir, they lost. And here, if they lose, then they're nowhere. So Modi now is putting everything on stake. We are telling them that we must live in peace in South Asia. We must activate SARC. We must resolve our issues while through dialogue. You have to give rights of self-determination to the Kashmiris. You can't deny it because these are the resolutions of United Nations, and your former Prime Minister Nehru had accepted, and he had said that it's not my promise only to the Kashmiri people or Pakistan, but my promise is to the entire world that they will get the right of self-determination, which was never given. So therefore, now different type of operation. They are on to that fifth generation war, the diplomatic isolation, economic strangulation, cyber war, and then the terrorism, so that Pakistan army bleeds and they make it weak. But they are mistaken. Pakistan army is a war hardened army, most experienced, and they are known for their valor.
What you are saying actually makes absolute sense, especially when you talk about India's, the psychological problem where there seems to be a pattern. In 2019, we saw that Pakistan, they sent their plane into Pakistan's airspace, Pakistan downed it. This time, they did not dare cross Pakistan's border. And even then, when their planes were downed again, for 48 hours, they did not fly another plane. And after that, of course, their CDS actually comes on here and talks about these issues. But on one side, that is the situation. But on the other side, there's this flip-flop, particularly from this gentleman, Dwivedi, who had actually spoken on record before that the war is over. And now we see that again he says that the war is going on. So the question right now is, what exactly is motivating these people? Because there seems to be the case that they have lost incredible face, and they want to make up for that as well. Is there a possibility that they might actually start something just to do that?
Yeah, Patafi Sahab, they were flying very high. Modi was all over. And they were having that slogan, that shining India and so on. And now this humiliation, they have fallen from grace. Their bluff was called, and country no less than America and their leadership, they are saying that they are nowhere. And every in South Asia and different regions, they have all understood that such a big country is they have presented such a false face, and they have not been able to face a small country, which has not. We didn't initiate aggression. It was India. So therefore, India is now a declining force in the sense that they are heading for disintegration, because today more than one and a half dozen insurgencies are there. You know, Khalistan, Kashmir, the Manipur, Assam, the Tamil Nadu's, Moist, and name them. And they are all. Then there is a red corridor. But that's up, you know it more than I do, because they can't even enter there. So therefore, to unite India, they have to create some slogan and create some enemy. And they think that Pakistan is the best example where they can do some pinpricks and put people together and then win election and then go for another 4 or 5 years. But I think that is their dream. But even if Modi loses, unless India reconciles with Pakistan's existence next to them, and they realize that we are permanent neighbors, our borders are there, and we have to live together. And you have to give right of self-determination to the Kashmiris. You can't be an aggressor and oppressor. And the world will not turn a blind eye. At least Pakistan will never. So therefore, I think a good sense must prevail. But now India is at
Mr. Qayyum, since we are talking about Pakistan's response and we are also talking about BJP going towards decline and Modi's putting all his cards and taking all kind of risks and, it's on stake. Now, can you help us understand, is it the domestic vulnerability of the BJP that you just mentioned, which is now being translated into the aggressive foreign policy, Modi or no Modi? It's just the foreign policy of India. Is it so?
Yeah, surely you said it. You see, there are two countries in the world. One is Israel, second is India. Now, when in United States of America, if you have to win election, you can't annihilate. You will have to praise Israelis and give them as much help as you can. And there is India. If you have to win election, you have to do Pakistan bashing and show that you can intimidate a neighboring Pakistan, which is a nuclear power. And that is what. So therefore, what Modi is saying and what their military leadership surprisingly is saying, which is not the norm, because military leaders are they give very measured response, and they are very well disciplined. They exactly know what is the state. And when there are prisoners, they treat them with honor. There are white flag meetings and so on. But what they are now saying, it shows that this is an internal differences which they want to unite their nation and tell them that we'll do this, that, and the other. And after the Bihar elections,
So, yeah, absolutely. Mr. Qayyum, also, could you please guide us? There is a danger of misperception as well. When we talk about the statements, they might be performative statements, the provocation that is coming, it might be good for their elections. But do you think it can really trigger a conflict? Because we just had a confrontation in May. We cannot forget that.
yeah, surely. You see, in the military terminologies, when we assess an enemy and see what is the threat magnitude, in that we see two things. One is the capability of the enemy. Can he undertake an aggression? And secondly, what are his intentions? So if you are in conflict with a country like India, you have to see both things. Here, there are both things. India has a large conventional army, and it's a very big country, 5 times more. And secondly, its intentions are never same for Pakistan or never in favor of Pakistan. So therefore, these two things are there. We have to take measures. So therefore, our military is ever ready, and we cannot trust Indians.
Right.
Right. General Sahab, very quickly, it all comes down to one question, whether India is still a rational power or whether it has lost rationality, because there seems to be a disconnect between its reasoning and what it seeks to achieve. Do you think it is a rational country now?
It is, what are you saying? It is?
Rational nation, rational state, sir.
Okay, rational state, you're saying. I don't think so, because the world has also recognized that India has never been a united country before 1947. They were states, different independent states. And now, ever since they have become, their only for a uniting factor is their enmity against Pakistan. So I don't think so. Now it has remained irrational. You can see now. I think in the next month there is an election on Khalistan, independent Khalistan. Kashmiris are again under their occupation, and there are so many atrocities in Manipur. The Christians churches were burnt and Christians were again killed. In Gujarat, Modi, what he did, you exactly know. So therefore, for their internal cohesion, they will raise the bogey of Pakistan, but they will never succeed. So therefore, I won't call them a rational state. In the long run, they are heading for disintegration.
Mr. Qayyum, a very quick question. When we talk about India, the internal conflicts, Ladakh or Leh, we know how the propaganda works there, how they have the entire machinery, and we know that how they transformed Sonam Wangchuk from a hero to a terrorist. So they've got quite a powerful hand in that. And when we talk about the role of media coming from India, the outlets are only glorifying such statements. So where do you see India's? Just now you were talking and mentioning about the credibility which India has lost.
Yeah, surely after this last conflict with Pakistan and the way their media behaved and the type of news they were giving, breaking news that a coastline in Lahore and Karachi has been captured and Islamabad this and people have been arrested and so on, they made a mockery of the whole thing. And it was a laughing stock for the entire world. So therefore, India is no more, and even I was listening to their think tanks, very sane elements within India. They were saying, what the hell are you doing? You are misleading the nation. And how can you? And even now, few days back, I was listening to one of the Indian leaders. They said, we have really shot down 6 Pakistani aircrafts, while they understand that when you shot down an F-16 or Rafale or anything, their inventory is known world over, and straight away it is revealed that what has happened. So such big lies, they really affect your credibility. And India is not a credible country after what has happened to them in May.
And Mr. Qayyum, just building up on that, we know India is no more a credible country. Does that leave India with any space for any kind of unilateral military adventurism?
I don't think so, but be ready. I told you that when we say that they cannot take that risk, but at the same time, since they have the capability and they have bad intentions, we have to be careful and we have to be watchful. But I don't think so that enforcement, yes, they will do this, what they are doing through Afghanistan. They will pump in money. They will give them guidance, intelligence, like likes of Kalbhushan Yadav. Many people they will infiltrate. Their defense minister is on record to have said that we have killed 20 people in Pakistan, and they have already been caught red-handed in Canada, in America, in Qatar, and many places. So therefore, I don't think so that the India has no that international posture or international credibility in which they can undertake another venture. They'll not be able to. They dare not do it. But Pakistan is ready to face all such aggressions.
Also, we know that these kind of provocations are definitely creating from their side an atmosphere of vengeance. It feels like there's the kind of indirect attacks since they couldn't accept their defeat. What does it tell you about the leadership of India? How weak is that? What does this tell you about the psychology of India, since we know it's also not only has lost its credibility, it also stands isolated now regionally and internationally?
Yes, you see, Indian leadership, unfortunately, their Pakistani obsession has really left them very low in their international rating, because Modi is from an ordinary family, which is no crime, which is very good. Chai wala, they call him. But the point is that a chai wala must rise also mentally. You have to be a statesman. You have to think 10 times before waging a war against a neighbor, which is a nuclear power. For heaven's sake. And then when we are saying that, okay, there should be an international inquiry and you can hold a commission and they can find out what is wrong and what is right. And when you know yourself that you are yourself involved in terrorism, you otherwise maybe the non-state actors may do anything in South Asia. But as far as India is concerned, it is a state-sponsored terrorism that India is undertaking in all the countries. All its neighbors are annoyed with India because they have not been treated well, like Bangladesh, Assam, Maldives, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. And then of all the countries, they have gone to Afghanistan, against whom they have been fighting along with the NATOs. And Afghanis, unfortunately, are so innocent that they are ready to sit with them. India, which has the leadership of BJP, which has destroyed Babri Mosque, which has killed people in Gujarat, 2000 burnt alive.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lieutenant General Abdul Qayyum, former Chairman, Senate Standing Committee on Defense Production, PMLN. We wish we could talk more, but we are a little pressed for time. Thank you for your time. Farrukh, your quick comment on the Indian side's provocation and Pakistan's response, and of course the consequence.
Right. You have very clearly pointed out at the start of the program also that Pakistan has given them befitting answer, and I think that there is psychological dominance when it comes to Pakistani side. So they won't actually do something of that sort. And let me tell you General Dwivedi's dilemma also. Because earlier, other people were actually jumping around saying that we are going to go for Operation Sindoor 2.0. General Dwivedi was showing some restraint. But then there comes this pressure that if you have lost, you have lost.
Yes.
So that's why he is trying to recover some lost phase.
Absolutely.
But if I have a minute, then I can.
Yes, very quickly.
Okay,
Farrukh.
very quickly in a minute.
Yes.
I'm just going to tell you. You expect me to say something profound as well. So India has a problem, and India's problem is like a trope that you might see in Bollywood movies, old Bollywood movies, where somebody is actually going through psychoanalysis, and all of a sudden their brain is stuck in a previous life. So India's memory is, stuck, especially during Modi's time, in an age of dominance. The problem is this age is not meant for dominance. It is for cooperation and collaboration. So had India understood that, their entire governance model would change and their cooperation with the region would change also. Unfortunately, a bully is a coward. We saw that the way Operation Sindoor showed or exposed them, and then all of a sudden they went running to China. If you can do that, come to Pakistan also.
Absolutely.
Be friends.
Right. Pitafi Sahab, thank you very much for your views. And this was about India, the provocations coming from that side, more like psychological, because as you mentioned that this is not the age of dominance. This is an age where we need to be cooperating with one another. We need to be intermingled, and this is where India is losing, because it still lives in, most probably in Farrukh's words, it lives in a Bollywood script, and it needs to come out and it needs to show real statehood. We will be discussing more on the plans for a peace summit between Donald Trump and Putin, which got delayed. We will be discussing more aspects of it, but after a short break, stay tuned. Welcome back, and now we'd be taking a look at the plans for peace summit between Donald Trump and Putin, which got delayed, which got postponed, and White House confirmed that there's not going to be any such meeting in the near future. Also, we know the Donbass deal. What does this peace summit stand for? What does it mean? And what does the delay means? Of course, we know Farrukh K.Pitafi is here with us in the studio for analysis, but we are now joined by Mr. Timur Shafir, political analyst from Russia. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining in.
So much. Glad to meet you again.
Now, Mr. Timur, how do you see the peace plan? First of all, let's jump into the background, because we need to know that if this is the only chance for peace in Europe, how does the Europeans seize this peace plan between Donald Trump and Putin?
First of all, I would like to say that the meeting between the Putin and the President Trump is not postponed or delayed. This morning we have met a lot of significant statements and interviews of the prominent Russian politicians, including the advisors of the President Putin, that have said that the Budapest summit is not postponed. The Budapest summit is not delayed. So the Foreign Office of Russia and the United States Foreign Office are still working on the details of this meeting. And this is very important. The fact itself of the meeting between the Russian and the American leaders itself is a very significant point on this very hard and difficult road to the peace. This is first. Second, the European governments, the governments that are united by the EU leadership, should take a decision, should take a final decision. What's most important for them? Is it the controversial relations or confrontation with Russia on one hand, or their decision or their acceptance of the peace roadmap? As soon as they decided, as soon as they choose the peace roadmap, a lot of other details, including the peace summit, including the meeting of the Putin, Trump, and European leaders, etc., will be settled down. So, as the tennis players say, now the ball is the tennis ball is on their side. The Putin and Trump said they're going to.
If the European, there's a question, signifying on your point. if they commit and if they make a decision, the European leaders in the favor of peace, of course, then we know that Russia is not, moving from its position, and then we know that it has to, the Ukraine has to maybe, give territorial concessions, which the European leaders might not like, because they say that it is one sample in front of us, one example in front of us, and if this precedence is set, then we would be seeing such conflicts in the near future as well. What do you have to say about it?
Exactly. This is the most hardest point because the European leaders that has been concentrated on a very small and very, like I would say, narrow point of this conflict are losing the other points, are losing the more widespread points of this conflict and the situation that can lead to the conflicts in the nearest future in all the part of the world. It is not about just territorial decisions. It is not about just confrontation between Russia and Ukraine. It's much more wider. It's much more deeper. This is a situation of the national, ethnical, religion minorities. This is the situation of the freedom of speech. Yeah, the media that are banned to work on their natural language. This is much more difficulties that are inside this conflict. And as soon as the European leaders, as well as the American leaders already understood it, as soon as the European leaders understand it, the faster they understand it, the faster will the peaceful process go on.
Right, Mr. Shafir, because you have mentioned that the Russian side is reporting that this Budapest summit is not delayed. May I ask you, because yesterday we were listening to President Trump, and he very clearly said that it is off because there doesn't seem to be any point. Now, how do you reconcile these two positions? On the other side, you were talking about the importance of negotiating. So usually whenever negotiations take place, both sides are supposed to give up something. Do you think that Russia is in a position to show some kind of relaxation or some kind of concessions as well? Or it has to be Russia's position and the others have to concede their point?
Well, of course, first of all, Mr. Trump, the President of the United States, is a very famous and prominent spokesperson. And sometimes you have to find hidden senses in what he says. Actually, yesterday when he mentioned the Budapest summit, he actually didn't say that it is cancelled. So the summit is not cancelled, as we find out, and as when we find out in the at least Russian media and the American media these days, it is not cancelled. The foreign offices of the both countries are still working on it. So hopefully, and very important, that this summit will take place. No matter if it will take place in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, it has to take place. Second, as I already said, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine is not just a conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It's not a territorial conflict. It's a geopolitical essence conflict. It's the conflict actually that involves not only Ukraine, not only European Union, not only Russia or the United States. It involves essences that has been building the world politics until these days. And as soon as we all understand it, as soon as we are ready for the compromises, all of us, Russians, Ukrainians, Europeans, Americans, that will do, the faster the better.
Right, Mr. Timur, also we know that there was about the Tomahawk missile system that President Donald Trump said that he might give to Ukraine, but later that deal was cancelled. How do you think, was this a pressure tactic to put Russia in a position where it needs to compromise in order to stop the war?
Of course, in my opinion, of course, the talk itself about the Tomahawks supplies to the Ukraine was senseless. It has no meaning. And it was, in my opinion, it was a big mistake of the Ukrainian government to put all its bets on just one topic, on the supply of the Tomahawks. No matter if the United States could agree on the supply of the Tomahawks, it would not change the essence of this conflict. It would not damage actually the situation in Russia at all. So probably the United States government and the President Trump has made the right decision. Tomahawks would not change the situation on the battlefield, but would damage and hurt the peaceful negotiation process a lot. So it was a diplomatic decision, and it was a right diplomatic decision in my mind.
Right. Let me ask you actually to put on your thinking cap, particularly your planner's cap, and let us know what do you think, how exactly this problem is going to be resolved eventually. And once there is that solution, where do you see the future of President Zelensky? Because at this moment it seems that there is incredible pressure on him to concede Donbass or at least some territory that has been lost to Russia.
First, of course, there is not just a talk about Donbass itself or the regions that are now controlled by the Russian army or Russian forces. These are the territories where a lot of minorities that actually make a majority live. So the minorities, they speak Russian, Ukrainian, Hungarian, Slovakian, and other languages. So first of all, the Ukraine should accept this situation, and the Ukrainian government should accept that their nationalities, their citizens are very different, and they need they need to have very prominent respect from the government, including the freedom of speech, freedom of power, freedom of press on their own languages, etc., etc. This is the first. Second, and what is most difficult is the actually who will sign when the topic comes to the peaceful agreement, who will sign this peaceful agreement. Unfortunately, Mr. Zelensky now has settled down to the situation where the international courts or international specialists in the international law can say that he is not actually a legal governor of the Ukraine, because his term has run off. There were no elections, presidential elections on the Ukraine. There were no other necessary democratic processes. But Zelensky himself is not actually the topic. There are many other significant persons. There are many others legitimate persons in the Ukraine, for example, the head of the parliament, etc.
Right. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we're a little pressed with time. Mr. Timur Shafir, political analyst, joining us from Russia all the way and letting us know about the situation, what it really means, how is the process going to be, and of course, it is not delayed. Now, Farrukh, how would we conclude? Because he has mentioned another dimension. He has mentioned that it is way more than just confrontation, just a war between Ukraine and Russia. How do you see the deeper aspects that the people are not seeing, or maybe what could be the solution when it comes to the deeper aspects?
Right. The biggest problem is that Russia sees the expansion of NATO and European Union towards its own borders as a serious threat. And that was the main reason what was cited when this war began, that we kept on asking them. They had given assurances that NATO will not expand this towards this side, but they keep on expanding it, right? So, of course, there is a geopolitical aspect as well, and it is having a huge cost. But the problem then is that you have to look at human cost on the ground, and then you have to see the way geography has been changing. Earlier, we know that Crimea was taken in a similar fashion. Now, this seems to be the case with Donbass. So, where will this end? With the entirety of Ukraine?
And is it setting a precedence, looking at the military aggression?
Yeah, it is incremental, right?
Yeah.
On one side, you are talking about increase of the other side, right? Their influence. On the other side, you are incrementally getting the more, part of the pie.
So it's more like a power play happening.
Yeah, it is, but sadly, so many people have died, and I tell you one thing for sure. I was asked when India-Pakistan conflict was going on, what do you think of President Trump? I thought, and I said it on record, that I trust his judgment implicitly, and there's a possibility that he might be able to solve it. Then the same with Palestine, and I can tell you, if there's any American president who can resolve the situation in Ukraine, it is President Trump. I hope that both sides trust him. because there seems to be a concern in Russia. Remember, Russia is losing something very precious also. Russia's population is less than Pakistan, although it is the largest landmass in the world. And secondly, its replacement rate, its demographic collapse is also there. So you cannot send your young people to die every day.
Right, Farrukh, thank you so much for your analysis. This was a detailed analysis on the planned peace summit between Donald Trump and Putin, which got delayed, but we have come to know that it is still in the process. There's a lot more happening. There are deeper aspects to it. This is just not a confrontation between Russia and Ukraine. There is freedom of expression involved. There is minority involved. There's oil production involved. Also, wheat production and the sub-Saharan people who are involved. And also we need to not forget that the human cost is the biggest cost that we are paying in this war. So it needs to come to an end. And as Farrukh mentioned, that only President Donald Trump can bring this war to an end. This is all for tonight's show. This is Maheen Jafri signing off.